All right, greetings. We're live. It's 11:01. Yeah, fairly punctual. How y'all doing? Good to see you already here. Going South says it wasn't me. Tom McCarthy, hello. CB Unglesby, hello. Going South says, hola. This is now playing at frozen.earth/TV. Come on in. Karen Daly, hello. Started the stream a little early today. I'm just because, I don't know, I'm constantly trying to adjust my schedule for optimal progress in life. And so it's a work in progress is what it is. TCR Galaxy, hello. Donald McCarthy says, bon oui. Love your lentils. My lenticulars. Bonjour from the United States, from the États-Unis. I still have some high school French in my brain. Not much. Not much. Welcome all. Oh, Jean Martin. Hello. Bonjour. Depuis on Valais fonce. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Going South says, what is justice? Is our topic at Philosophy Club tonight. It's a good one. I surely know that we don't have time to go into that topic, but that's a good one. It's natural progressive. Hello. So yeah, it is a constant struggle to have the time to actually get in depth into anything. Somebody gifted me The Uninhabitable Earth. I think I told you all that. And I've been reading the book extremely slowly because I have kind of like wall-to-wall articles and things that I'm looking at for this channel and other things that I'm doing in my life. And it's just like, I have about 10 minutes at night to read a book, even though it's an important book. Jean-Martin from Puy, where the lentils live. Okay, I see. Ryan Karayan, dang, I just watched Tulsi's reasoning for voting present. She is spot on. I totally agree with Tulsi. I'm totally down with Tulsi on this vote. And it makes perfect political sense if you think about it. Excuse me. Because she's running as a Democrat, but she is completely smeared and blasted by the liberal media and by establishment Democrats. They absolutely hate Tulsi, although she has quite a few followers and believers and supporters on the left. She also has followers and believers and supporters on the right. So, if you vote yes, if she votes yes, she pisses off all her independent righty voters. If she votes no, she pisses off all the Democrats. That's a hard place to be in. You can't. And I'm actually, Bernie can't be as, on certain things, Bernie can't be as progressive as he should be. Uh, if he voted no on impeachment, all the knives would have come out for him. He's not a Democrat, which is the thing people keep saying over and over. He's not a Democrat. So he voted with all the Democrats for impeachment, but he's not really focused on impeachment. He's focused on beating Donald Trump in the presidency. Anyways, yeah, natural progressive. I like Tulsi too. She is my second favorite of the candidates after Bernie. And I think actually Andrew Yang is my third favorite. I have no time or patience for Elizabeth Warren. She's a flip-flopper, and she's shown herself to be extremely, I don't know what the good word would be. She's extremely political. She's all about political expedience. She's all about trying to please everybody. Excuse me. And then pleasing no one in the long run. At least Bernie stands and fights for what he believes in, 92% of the time. Yeah, so I was just on Facebook this morning having discussions with people about the impeachment, and everybody on, there's a lot of people on my Facebook who are, super brainwashed centrist liberals that watch CNN and think that, Trump is the worst thing ever. He is terrible. I'm not saying that he's not terrible, but they're just, it's any excuse to, you hate Trump so much that you are emboldened to do anything to get rid of him. It's kind of like, going south, to get back to the question of what is justice. Is it justified to do illegal things in order to take down bad people? A lot of people might say yes. The problem is that when you do illegal things, or you do, bad things to take it down bad people, don't you yourself become a bad person? How the line is very blurred on what, then makes you a morally justified person or a lawfully or legally justified person. And the Democrats are opening themselves up to they're trying to take down Trump without opening themselves up to a lot of scrutiny on their side, which they should be. Anyways, we have some viewers in the house. Thank you for coming in, guys. I know this turned into a political discussion really quickly, but let's get into some climate change headlines. Got this from Nick Humphrey's page. Moscow wonders where winter has gone as temperatures hit 133-year high. So it's past mid-December in Moscow, and there is no snow on the ground. And we've been seeing this over the last few years. This has actually become kind of a common occurrence. In many northern countries, Sweden, Russia, Finland, other places, they're seeing no or very little snow when usually winter is supposed to be in high gear. But just another sign of weather weirding. Obviously, the Arctic is warming at a higher rate than the other latitudes. So it used to be the old logic was that going north was the thing to do to escape the high temperatures or the bad times of climate change. And the unfortunate truth is that the Arctic is warming at a higher rate than southern latitudes, and that is an uncomfortable fact because it kind of leaves you with nowhere to go. Please like the video. Thank you, Natural Progressive. Yes, please like the video so that more people can see that we are on. I don't know if starting earlier is better. There's a lot of people tuning in from the UK and other places in Europe. So I think, and East Coast as well. So I think starting earlier is not a bad thing. I still haven't gotten my head around what time it is in Australia, so I can't begin to think about what time it is there. I think it's early morning, if I'm not mistaken. My clerical collar, you like that? I saw the movie. Did anybody see the movie Parasite? Which is it's in South Korea, set in South Korea. Excellent movie. I actually saw it for the second time last night. Anyways, they all wear like these collarless collars. Maybe that's why I'm wearing this shirt. I'm not sure. Hierophant says little snow in Chicago so far. Thank you, Natural Progressive, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Guys, remember this is a super chat. Going South says we got snow cover, but barely. Valhalla, how you doing? I'm catching your lunchtime, Natural Progressive. Cool. Let's move on to another headline. Australia, this has been going all week, but Australia to see 50 C. Temperatures start to touch 50 C, which is 122 Fahrenheit, which is... I wish I had one of those nice old school sayings at my tongue, at the tip of my tongue, which I don't. It's like hotter than a tick on a dog, or hotter than a something, whatever. Anybody got one? Anybody got a good one? 50 C is hot. 122 degrees is hot. 122 degrees is when things start breaking down. Not that they wouldn't start breaking down earlier than that, but 122 and above is where life systems start breaking down. So Australia just getting the worst, it seems like, of the extreme weather events, as well as the Far East, Indonesia, China, India, Japan as well. But Australia seems to be really taking it on the chin right now. So this is a big topic of discussion, or should be, or maybe it's not at all. We'll go from big to not at all. Arctic News just published a new blog post that said that we are going to see, there's a possibility, they don't say we are, they're indicating the possibility of extinction in 2020. Did anybody see this post? What are your thoughts on this? Valhalla, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Valhalla says, for the win, man. Going South says, kids are running their snowmobiles. Hotter than 10 pennies on a tin roof. Thank you. I was looking for something just like that. I don't know. There's lots of those old crazy sayings that I can't think of any of them right now. Hotter than snake oil on asphalt. I don't know. Something. CB Unglesby says, this AM Sydney is surrounded by fire. Sydney is surrounded by fire. Valhalla says, my thoughts are OMG. My thoughts on waking every day is OMG. So yeah, Arctic News says their latest blog states the possibility of extinction in 2020. Now, to be fair, I didn't get too far. I just looked at it. I looked at the graphs. I looked at the charts a little bit. I rolled it around. in my noggin. And, I just, as per my last covering of the Arctic News blog saying that we were going to see extinction by 2023, I don't know. I don't know about this. I think this is the worst case scenario, right? They're doing the opposite of what, a lot of scientists do, which is play down the dangers and minimize everything and, doubt all the evidence, or, play down the evidence as much as possible and say like, oh, it's looking pretty bad, but, we're not going to see any effects until 2050 or 2100, et cetera, right? So that's, I feel like they're countering that strategy or that viewpoint. But I mean, come on, I think 2020, that is the absolute worst case scenario. That's on the level of like an asteroid strike, or a nuclear holocaust, or something, something just cataclysmic beyond all cataclysms. Yeah, so TCR Galaxy 2020 extinction based on a BOE Arctic carbon blowout. So basically, yeah. They're implying that we could reach the threshold, the tipping point, if you will. What they're saying is that the waters in the Arctic are warm enough to breach a threshold at which the methane clathrates will start dissolving and releasing massive amounts of methane. And that it will be so rapid that we are going to be extinct in 2020. This is just getting to the level of, I don't know about that. I mean, is it possible? Is it possible? I don't know. I think that I think things are going to develop much more slowly than that. And I don't mean much more by, 20 or 30 years. I mean, more than the 5 or 10 year timeline. Keith Boyd, how you doing? The Dude, how you doing? Environmental Coffee House, hello. It is Thursday. Weatherman 474747. I doubt we will face extinction in 2020. Every year is getting worse, of course, but events like methane hydrate release are impossible to predict. Oh, Nick Humphrey, how you doing? What's up, man? Didn't know that was your handle. Yeah, I don't, I have to actually come down on the side of like, this is a little bit on the extremely alarmist, level. I even think 2023 is kind of like, okay, some events have to really ramp up if we're going to reach, 3C or 4C by 2023. Could it happen? Sure. I just don't see it happening that fast. I think it's just going to play out a little bit slower. Again, I'm one of those people that see collapse more like, walking down the stairs little by little, and things just get slowly worse and worse, until things are really bad. Is that point at which we get to things are really bad, is that 2025, 2030, 2035? And again, what if there have been pauses in warming in the past? There have been, there have been years when things are, when weather events are really extreme and go out of control, and then other years where things are a little more placid. It seems like in the U.S., obviously we've had things happening this year, but it seems to be not as crazy a year weather-wise as it was the last 2 years. So things have been relatively normal. That's not, I'm not counting out the fact that we had huge floods this year. So maybe, maybe not. We had incredible floods that are affecting, crops this year. So we are getting our weather events on. Our extreme weather events are happening. But it seems like other places maybe are getting, I don't, or maybe the extreme weather events are happening just so rapidly that it's hard to keep up. It's hard to even remember them all. It's hard to keep up with them all. I feel that way. I feel like, I'm trying to stay up on top of everything that's going on, and there's so much going on that if there's basically like if there's nothing happening in the moment, I'm like, all right, everything's cool. Okay, we can just like chill here for a second. Um, so going back to when Valhalla said something, I think it was Val. Valhalla said is going to get real when millions die in a day. Yeah, that's really real. Keep liking the video, guys, so we can get more viewers on this here video. Weatherman Nick Humphrey says, I doubt we will face extinction in 2020. Every year is getting worse, of course. And let's say a huge hydrate release happens this year in 2020. There's also, evidence that it would take. There would be some kind of, time gap between the release and the actual warming, and then the effects of the warming. Like even if we went to a 2 or 3 C warming, let's say by the end of 2020, like how long does it take for those effects to kick in to such an extreme level that there's extinction or there's billions of people dying? I just don't. 2020 is just really radical, like super radical prediction. And let's just go back to, not to down Guy McPherson or anything, but Guy McPherson made a prediction maybe in 2016, which is 3 years ago, that September would be the start of the collapse in 2016, and here we are 3 whole years later. There are weather events happening. Things are bad. Things are on fire. Things are flooded. Things are not great, but we are still a functioning society. Industrial civilization is still chugging along 3 years later. So yeah, I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years to kind of take the imminent collapse talk with a big grain of salt, because if you live your life on those terms, like here it comes, it's going to come in September, or this year, here it comes the collapse, right? It's hard to actually like function. It's hard to just go, keep putting your feet in front of each other and like taking steps to live, if you're just, if you're constantly like afraid that your roof is going to cave in, it makes it hard to just kind of like move around the house and do what you got to do. So, or maybe I've just grown numb. Maybe I'm just numb to the idea that collapse is imminent and, we've got limited time left. I don't know. I think it's a combination of all of the above. I'm a little bit numb. I've actually come to this place where like climate change news is kind of like it's scary, and it's also become something of like a white noise in my life because it's always there and it's always like a hum in the background that I've kind of, when you have a white noise in your life and it's going on all the time, at first you're like, this is really annoying. I wish that would go away. And after a while, you just take it into your consciousness and then you act like it's not even there. And that's kind of climate change for me right now. Like, at one point it was like, oh, and now I'm just like, yeah, it's there. I don't know. I'm still here. I'm still living my life. I still have things to do. I still have to pay bills. I'm not, I've got kids to take care of and, people to see and things to do and blah, blah, blah. Veronica Harris says, I sleep to stop thinking. Valhalla says, Che Guevara says, a revolutionary lives like they are already dead, nothing to lose. Going South says, if you can't put feet in front of each other, just paddle. Keith Boyd, you can tune it out. Yeah, I mean, I actually do a lot more tuning out these days, it almost, it's actually like a false sense of, on some level, a false sense of security, because I tune it out a lot, to focus on other things. It's kind of why I talk about politics so much, because I'm like, I don't know. It's just something that's happening. It's like an interesting movie, that's going on, to talk about. It's like an interesting happenings that just like stuff to talk about. Climate change news, to talk about climate change news is like, yeah, I'm just kind of sitting around waiting for things to get super bad. Christopher Spavin says, what if you had known 2008 financial crisis was upon us? What would you have done differently? Well, I don't know. In 2008, I wasn't. I mean, yeah, I might have gotten out of some investments that I was in. I actually had like an investment portfolio I was paying into, and had been paying into it for a few years, and in 2008 happened, and I lost like half my money, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should take my money out of this. Way too late. So, yeah, I mean, I would have done hopefully something different had I known the 2008 thing was coming. But it's weird because I've been hearing since, 2014, 15 that like, we're way over our heads in derivatives. There's a financial bubble looming. It's been all over, it's been about to pop for about 5 years. So, for a while I was living my life as if the economy was about to crash, and now 5 years later, nothing's crashed, and they keep saying like, uh-oh, things are about to happen, and then you're like, okay, what's going to happen? I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where you want to be ahead of the curve, but if you're ahead of the curve, you might end up just putting yourself in a bad position because, everybody's still like, I don't know. Nothing to see here. It's just one of those things where you kind of have to be ready for the worst, and you have to be poised to take some kind of action, and you have to stay alert. Earth says, end of the world ambivalence, too sad, but sometimes so necessary. Keep on liking the video, guys, so we can get some more people on the stream. Veronica Harris, wait, there goes an iceberg. Whoopee. Forest Dweller says, I just adopted a dog. Yeah, I got a dog. She is a good companion. She's definitely keeping me grounded. Christopher Spavin says, Rupert Reed is now planning like the climate crisis is finished, and now we must be ready for planetary hospice. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, do what you got to do, because the end is nigh. CB Unglesby, I'm going to make an apple pie. So let's go back to some headlines. Well, that was it for I think that was it for the climate change headlines that I had. Going back to this thought, it's not a headline. What's been happening in the political space, as far as progressive candidates on the left, and also even progressive pundits on the left, I think there's been this idea that you shouldn't alienate people on the right, or alienate, what people would call deplorables or Trump voters, or regular people out there just trying to like figure out what's what, which I actually have to agree with, right? It's kind of like the Tulsi Gabbard, even Bernie Sanders, has gone on Fox News to talk to people that might not be in your ideological silo. And again, that always makes me think about, maybe discussing things with climate deniers. It's really easy to just dismiss them, or count them out, or count them as lunatic. And I think we just have to keep. I don't know. I keep trying to find new language with which to talk to people around this, and it's really hard to stop the reactionary kind of thing, knee jerk, like, just get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. But I do try to counter with facts and information, But it's hard also because, there's climate deniers out there that will jump in the comment section or they'll be on other videos, and they're just, they are not listening to anything. They are running their narrative, and they have no room for any kind of like real deliberation. They're not willing to like go, what you say might have some truth to it. But what I've been seeing lately is a lot more of this like sneaky climate denier stuff where they're like, I'm not a climate denier, but they're going to start debating how science works with you, or they'll start countering with things that are scientific. Like it's the whole grand solar minimum debate, right? So grand solar minimum is a thing. It's actually an occurrence. It's actually, it's actually a known phenomenon. It's in nature. It does happen, but they use that to sound scientific in their refuting of climate science. And what they end up doing is like muddying the waters for people. Like, I never really thought of that. It's the climate, the climate is always changing argument, right? So that the right has taken over climate change, the title or the moniker climate change, and they're like, the climate is always changing. Yes. Like they're very smug and self-satisfied with their answer. And I saw this actually on a post on Facebook I'm in a bunch of like climate change forums, and somebody was like, well, now, Republicans have taken over the name climate change. So now, or they've used it to their advantage now. So now we have to change climate change to something else, which is totally logical because climate change is one of the dumbest names ever. Climate change. It's just so innocuous and so, like climate change. It doesn't have the teeth that global warming does. And if anybody saw the movie about Dick Cheney, that movie indicates that climate change the name was developed in a think tank, a right-wing think tank, a fossil fuel think tank. They developed that name to not scare the children. Going south, or like Saturn is warming more. Environmental Coffee House says, I feel pity for the brainwashed who have no critical thinking skills. You really just have to you have to come with facts, and you have to come calmly. It's really, I think a lot of take a page out of the playbook of the progressive channels on YouTube. And a lot of them, Kyle Kalinske actually points this out really well, where he's gotten some people that used to be like alt-right, right-wing, people that were ultra right-wing who saw everything in that frame of reference. And because they ended up somehow on his channel or somehow talking to some progressive lefties who just made common sense. They just made common sense arguments for their point of view. And eventually they were like, hey, this actually makes sense to me. So you have to just continue to make common sense arguments for the point of view of climate change and not dismiss people or not call them stupid or not call them Trumpies or not call them, you know, it's difficult to do. I know. It's difficult to do. But just part of the ongoing fight to educate and make people aware. Keep on liking the video, guys. Let's get some more people in here. I want to quickly just a couple more weird headlines or things that I've seen lately on YouTube that were interesting. Jill Stein was on Graham Elwood recently. If you all know who Jill Stein is, she's was the Green Party candidate in 2016. I voted for her. She was on Graham Elwood, and she indicated that there is an organization and an entity. There are actually quite a few of these entities. An organization that is funded by our military-industrial complex that is pushing certain news points. So it's like Operation Mockingbird, but one step removed, if you guys know what Operation Mockingbird is. Anyways, she named this entity by name. It's called like Infinity something, the Infinity Group or something like that. I really highly suggest that you go to Graham Elwood's channel and watch this video with Jill Stein, because it's really very enlightening about how the military, so our own tax dollars are going to fund the military industrial complex is using this money to fund groups out there, entities that are pushing narratives to news companies, news corporations, pushing people to write articles, right? People at the New York Times, Washington Post, other lefty outlets, Vice, The Intercept, et cetera, right? They push these narratives through these liberal outlets to push things like, Russian, somebody's a Russian agent or Russian spying or the Russians are coming to get us, right? This is actually for all intents and purposes, a CIA operation. Super interesting stuff. And also, if you all know who Nico House is, he runs a network called Mi Casa is Su Casa. It's a progressive channel. It's interesting because a lot of these progressive channels are starting to talk about and speak about things that the right has been speaking about for a long time. Like, things like people that have been speaking about Q, or people that were, considered alt-right. Certain not everything that they're saying, but certain elements of some of the things that they're saying are starting to be elucidated and talked about by these progressive channels, and very interesting stuff. So Nico House has a video just released today about Rudy Giuliani went to the Ukraine and found all this stuff about the Bidens and the Obama administration. And he said I know it sounds crazy, but he says in the beginning, he's a lefty, he's a progressive. He said at the beginning of his video, he said, take off your lefty hat, take off your righty hat, and just listen to this information. Anyways, go find that video on Nico House's channel and check it out. It's very interesting stuff. He also talks about the Clinton body count, which, everybody on the left is like, oh, that's a conspiracy. It's actually not a conspiracy. It's actually true. Many, many people have died around the Clintons. A lot of people, they're dead. You don't have to really even talk about how they died or what happened. If you just looked at the actual fact that this many people have died around this family, that in and of itself might be a little suspicious. Anyways, Trump passed a paid leave act. Trump also, has been doing terrible things like kicking people off food stamps, and ramping up the military budget to $735 billion, and keeping kids in cages, and opening up, Arctic wildlife refuges to drilling. He does terrible shit every single day, but at least on this day, he did something good, which is he signed a paid leave act into law, which is actually really good. Also, Kentucky, the state of Kentucky restores voting rights for nonviolent felons. We've actually never talked about the subject on this channel. I agree with that. I think that's wise. You know, obviously, black and brown people are put into jail at much higher rates than white people, and they are disenfranchised because of this. So restoring voter rights re-enfranchises minorities who are unfairly targeted by the legal system. And I think that's it for the headlines today that I wanted to get through. So that actually took me a really long time. I'm going to go back and check out some of these comments here. The dude says CIA news, nothing new. Right. The dude said shut the fuck up. What does that mean? Oh, I love the shut the fuck up channel. Yeah. There is, you know, there's a certain what's the word I'm looking for? A certain release of emotion in the shut the fuck up. Oh, thank you, Valhalla. Thank you for the super chat in memory of Che Guevara. Nico House is spelled House. House. Pretty sure. I've been watching his channel for a while. I should know how to spell his name. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, House. Niko. House. Good channel. Really good channel. He does some great investigative work. I like Nico House and Graham Elwood they do actually dig for things that are kind of, a lot of the lefty channels kind of cover the same stories over, you know, they all like, one does a story and they all cover the same stories, just like the regular news. But Graham Elwood does kind of like off the beaten path stories. So does Nico House. And so I enjoy the fact that they're kind of outside of the progressive YouTube bubble a lot of the times. I mean, they do a lot of the inside the bubble news too, but the Dems voted for that military budget. Yes, they did. So let me read a couple of these stories. Natural Progressive says gardens are going to be hard to grow this year. My garden has been hard to grow every year for the last 3 years. Or 4 years. It's gotten a little better this year. This year, surprisingly, things were doing a little better, but it still is very difficult. Keith Kessler. Suspiciously, thousands of people died yesterday. Yeah, no, but that's not what I'm saying, man. That's actually, you know, I know what you're getting at, but that's a little goofy. Where people that worked for the Clintons, people that were close to the Clintons, as far as they were in their employ, or were involved in something very closely related to the Clintons, or they were one step removed from the Clintons. Thousands of people died yesterday. Those people didn't know the Clintons or weren't working for them. So, not a good analogy. Sorry. What I'm saying, and check this out. If this was true of Trump, this would be, Trump already is, yes, he's involved in, there's lots of crimes and, lawsuits. And here's an interesting thing that Democrats don't bring up, in all this impeachment stuff. I think Donald Trump had to pay a $2 million fine for defrauding or like stealing money from veterans or something like that. It's a wild story, but like in all this news about the Ukraine, like you don't hear anything about this. I don't see anything about this story other than kind of in the recesses of YouTube. But anyways, if you know, a hundred or more than 100 people had died who worked for Trump or who were closely related or working in, you know, very close league with Trump, you don't think people would be like, what the fuck is happening here? What is going on? Yeah. Ecocentric, yes. People won't be leaving the city looking for gardens because people in the city don't know where food comes from. Yeah. Yep. Graham Elwood is great. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of just kind of like touch on some articles. So let's go back to the Moscow news. Moscow wonders where winter has gone as temperatures hit 133-year high. 133-year high. Unseasonable warmth brought by atmospheric front from Atlantic Ocean means it's rain in the forecast for the New Year holiday, Russia's main festive celebration. So on New Year's Day in Russia, there will be no snow. And there's a picture in this article. I have to link it below. You guys can check it out. There's no snow in Moscow. Residents of Moscow are wondering where winter has gone as the highest December temperatures for 133 years deprived the Russian capital of its customary covering of snow. This is not our winter, said pensioner Ludmila Barikova. It came from somewhere else. At a time when snow often blankets the streets and icicles hang from buildings, the temperature in Moscow is expected to reach 6 degrees Celsius, or 42.8 degrees Fahrenheit, overnight on Wednesday, according to Elena Vosoliuk of the Phobos Weather Center. The last time Moscow was warmer than 5.3 degrees in December, on December 18th, was in 1886, she said. The usual air temperature for December 18th is minus 6.2 degrees or 20 degrees Fahrenheit, according to Russia's Hydrometeorological Research Center. The unseasonable warmth has been brought by an atmospheric front from the Atlantic Ocean, and rain, not snow, is forecast for the New Year holiday, Russia's main festive celebration. And it's not just people who have been surprised. At Moscow State University's Apothecary Garden, snowdrops and rhododendron are among flowers that have mistaken the soft soil for the early onset of spring. The plants were deceived by this warm weather and decided it was spring already, so they are in bloom. This is yet another drawback or side effect of weather weirding or unnatural weather, is that plants are highly confused, and to go back to what Natural Progressive was saying, makes it difficult to grow things normally. Said they are already in bloom, said head gardener Anton Dubinyuk, warning that could mean less color later. These flowers will certainly not survive when the cold comes, so there will be no spring blossom. Biryakova, who was walking in the apothecary garden, said, I was born here and have lived here my whole life. We are used to real winters. Non good. Thank you. Keep liking the video, guys. We have, I don't know, about 15 more minutes. Let's get some more people up on here. The dude, super chat. Thank you. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, the dude. Forced Dweller says, all you doomers are spoiling my Christmas. These damn doomers. Andy the Gardener, how you doing? You made the live chat. Welcome. Well, usually there's a group of people that come in like right at the end, which I always feel incredibly bad about. Going South says blueberry bushes can only take 2 snow-free winters in a row, then they die. Yeah, there's actually, you know, it's actually looking quite summery. We're supposed to get a warm spell the next couple days, and you know, obviously it doesn't really matter as much here in Southern California, but it is. You know, the plants are definitely confused because, you know, it's usually like fairly cool, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, usually overcast. Oh, and here's another headline. I don't know if I've covered this in the headline section, but this is interesting news. A natural gas blowout in Ohio released more methane than many countries do in an entire year. Well, that's it. Extinction 2020. I'm joking. That's called gallows humor. In February 2018, a blowout at a natural gas well in rural. So this is February 2018. When is this? This article is dated December 18th, 2019. But the incident received little national attention at the time. A new analysis of satellite data shows that the leak was far more significant than previously thought. In just 20 days, the damaged well platform spewed an estimated 60 kilotons of the potent planet-warming gas methane into the atmosphere, scientists say. That's more methane than European countries like France, Spain, and Norway release in a year. 60 kilotons. It appears the peak emission rate was twice as great as the second largest leak ever measured in the United States, the scientists say. I wonder if the second largest was Aliso Canyon. There was a huge methane leak in Los Angeles. I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, but it was giant, and it was going on for months, and they couldn't figure out how to stop it. The discovery was published Monday in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and was made by a group of Dutch and American scientists who used new satellite technology to detect and measure the size of the leak during a routine global survey. Methane, a primary component of natural gas, has a global warming potential 20 times that of CO2, but methane molecules have a much shorter lifespan in the atmosphere, about 10 years, but always remember that methane breaks down into CO2. So they always make it sound like, you know, well, after 10 years, it stops warming. No, it breaks down into CO2 and continues warming. And then CO2 lasts for thousands of years. So it's like, whoa, it spikes real quick and then goes down into just some regular old long-lasting warming. The current warming that we are experiencing, 1/4 of it caused by anthropogenic methane, the additional methane caused by human activity, said Stephen Hamburg, chief scientist at Environmental Defense Fund and study co-author. Exxon, which owned the well, said it deeply regretted the incident. Well, thanks, Exxon. Hopes, thoughts and prayers. The energy giant said it had instituted systematic, well-designed and monitoring procedures to prevent it from happening again. All right, we trust that. We are eager to learn more, and our scientists are currently reviewing the study. All right. That's a feel-good story. ExxonMobil is committed to methane reductions and is working with government laboratories, universities, and others to identify the most cost-effective and best-performing technology. Key word cost-effective, which is probably why the leak happened in the first place, including satellites that can be adopted by all the producers to detect, repair, and accurately measure methane. Hamburg said the real significance of the paper is that it demonstrates the ability to take routine satellite measurements and see events not normally seen. He called it the beginning of a revolution. Scientists will be able to highlight the quantities of methane release, show more where they're occurring, and how they change in time. That really allows us to focus on mitigation and accessing the degree to which people are reducing those emissions. Man, they just really spun this into a real, like, a real happy, momentous occasion for detecting methane leaks. Wow, Osama, greetings. Osama, number 5 says, your Christmas is killing our oceans. Boom. Christmas is killing the planet. Actually, if everybody really wanted to do a little eye-opening. Christmas is killing the planet. The Salt Laker says the leak was bigger than they thought. That's what they said about the Trump-Russian P-tape. Peter Minton says they stick a paper bag over the leak. That's how cheap they are. Yeah, who knows what cost-cutting practices they were using to operate the well. WACF. Irk1 says WACF. I think you meant to say WASF. Or maybe WACF means something else. We are ceaselessly fucked. I don't know. CB Unglesby says the Xmas season is a trash season. Natural Progressive, record sales. What is wrong with people? Retail therapy? That will help. Yeah. Oh, wait. Groot, hello. How you doing? Didn't see you there. Just caught you out of the corner of my eye. Welcome. Sunny and 68 degrees here in Los Angeles. Yep. Sunny, and actually supposed to get even warmer, I think. So let's, to round out this live stream, let's look at this Arctic News blog, which says Extinction in 2020. Personally, I think it's a little over the top, but let's go through it just to give people a little overview. This is from Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Above image depicts how humans could go extinct as early as 2020. The image was created with NASA LODI 1880 November 2019 data. 0.78 C adjusted to reflect ocean air temperature as opposed to sea surface temperatures. To reflect higher polar temperature anomalies, as opposed to leaving out missing data, quote unquote, and to reflect a 1750 baseline as opposed to the 1951 to 1980 baseline, with two trends added. Blue, a long-term trend based on January 1880 to November 2019 data. Red, a short-term trend based on January 2009 to November 2019 data to illustrate La Niña variability and how El Niño could be the catalyst to trigger huge methane releases from the Arctic Ocean. So they're updating their last blog post about this particular scenario where El Niño creates such a higher ocean temperatures, enough so that it would cause a huge methane release and cause temperatures to spike in the short term. How was the above image created? Let's first look at the baseline. The NASA default baseline is 1951 to 1980. The added trend in the image below shows early 1900s data to be well below this 1951 to 1980 baseline. In this analysis, a 0.28 C adjustment was therefore used to reflect this, and to reflect a 1750 baseline, a further 0.3 C was used, adding up to a 0.58 C baseline adjustment. Furthermore, the NASA Land Ocean Temperature Index, or LOTI, uses sea surface temperatures, but ocean air temperatures seem more appropriate, which adds a further 0.1 C adjustment. Also, when comparing current temperatures with pre-industrial ones, it's hard to find data for the polar areas. Treating these data as missing would leave important heating out of the picture. After all, the polar areas are heating up much faster than the rest of the world, and especially so in the Arctic region. Therefore, A further 0.1 C adjustment was used to reflect higher polar temperature anomalies, resulting in the above-mentioned 0.78 C adjustment. Finally, the red trend illustrates El Niño-La Niña variability as discussed in a recent post. An El Niño is forecast for 2020, and this could be the catalyst to trigger huge methane releases from the Arctic Ocean. The image below shows El Niño-La Niña variability going back to 1950 added to the NOAA monthly temperature anomaly. As said, the Arctic region is heating up much faster than the rest of the world. There are several reasons why this is the case. Decline of the sea ice makes that less sunlight gets reflected back into space and that more sunlight is reaching the Arctic Ocean. This also causes more water vapor and clouds to appear over the Arctic Ocean. Furthermore, Arctic sea ice has lost most of its thicker multi-year ice that used to extend meters below the surface, consuming huge amounts of ocean heat entering the Arctic Ocean along ocean currents from the North Atlantic and North Pacific Oceans. The above-mentioned feedbacks, albedo changes and more water vapor and clouds, contribute to higher temperatures in the Arctic. As the temperature difference between the North Pole and the equator narrows, the jet streams change, which can lead to further Arctic heating, i.e., higher temperatures of the atmosphere, higher temperatures of the water flowing into the Arctic Ocean from rivers, and higher temperatures of the inflow of water from the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And as above image shows, the temperature rise of the oceans on the northern hemisphere is accelerating. This constitutes a critical tipping point, i.e., there are indications that a rise of 1C will result in most of the sea ice underneath the surface to disappear. The sea ice used to consume the inflow of warm, salty water from the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So while there may still be sea ice left at the surface, since low air temperatures will cause freezing of water surface, the latent heat buffer has gone. As long as there is sea ice, this will keep absorbing heat as it melts, so the temperature will not rise at the sea surface. The amount of energy absorbed by melting ice is as much as it takes to heat an equivalent mass of water from 0 to 80 Celsius. The danger is that as Arctic Ocean heating accelerates further, hot water will reach sediments at the Arctic Ocean seafloor and trigger massive methane eruptions, resulting in a huge abrupt global temperature rise. As discussed in an earlier post, a 3C rise will likely suffice to cause extinction of humans. The image below from an earlier post explains the speed at which warming elements can strike, i.e., its rise could for a large part occur within years and in some cases within days, and even immediately. They're talking about the falling away of the aerosol masking effect. And also the effect of water vapor. So water vapor and the lack of aerosol masking would cause heating to happen immediately or within days. Loss of September Arctic ice within years, seafloor methane within years, more greenhouse gas releases within years. And that's about the end of that article. I'll link all of these articles. Guys, I don't know. I don't know. I hope that is not the case. Salt Laker says, if only there was a pill to help your albedo. I'm lactose albedo intolerant. Yeah, I mean, whether it's 1 year or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, it's all bad. All of it is bad. It's just how much time do we have left to possibly enjoy ourselves a little bit? And or how much time do we have to actually make some kind of consequential turn of the Titanic in the right direction? I don't know. Or not at all. Valhalla says, time to cash out your 401ks if you ever want to see the money, best to get it now. And I would actually, I would actually say go to that. Go to that immediately. Cash out your pensions, cash out your 401ks. You know, buy some food storage, buy some silver. Maybe do some short-term investing, some, possible currency investing or Bitcoin investing just for short-term, but don't lose your money. Natural Progressive says, I want off the hamster wheel. Well, yeah, I get that. I kind of want off the hamster wheel too. I'm pretty tired of it. Although, I'm still just operating in what people call the real world. The real fake world that everybody agrees is the real world, but it's actually just completely imaginary and contrived. Irk1 says, thanks for mentioning the Titanic. Been planning on an illustration with it. The dude says, take care, all you pre-dead folks. Thanks, Kevin. You rock. Thanks to you, the dude. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat again. I appreciate you. Osama says, not a fan of dystopian social functions. And I have to say, I'm not either. I actually like to party with people that still think that, there's something to party for. Or something. I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense. I've never been to a dystopian social function, so maybe I should just not even chime in. I withdraw my comment. Sorry. Natural Progressive says, my company lives in the fake world of eyeball growth. That sounds weird. I don't even know what eyeball growth means. Eternal. Okay, sorry. I was like, eyeball growth. Is that something they're working on? We need bigger eyes so that we can see the truth with it. That's what we need. We need bigger robot eyes so that we can see things really clearly. Hierophant says, the real world, the world based on money, which is a fabrication, of course. CB Unglesby says, pie looks really good. I want me some pie. I love pie. All right, guys, I think we have reached the 0 hour when I have to sign off and go about my real world duties. This is a dystopian social function, absolutely. And isn't this a good time? I'm having a good time, actually. This is one of my favorite times of the week. I look forward to the live streams every week. It's actually one of my more enjoyable things to do in my life. And it is enjoyable because of you guys. Oh. Osama said, I've been getting good at finding mushrooms lately. Even in the winter, I'm finding lion's mane and turkey tail. They do need bigger eyes. Everybody get your big eyes today. Order your big eyes from Amazon today. Going south. We're not going there. We're not going there today. Do these jeans make your eyes look big? Yes, they do. Oh, my. What big jeans you have. I mean, what big eyes I have. Yes. I was trying not to, but we did it anyways. All right, thank you guys. I got to sign off. We're at an hour and 10 minutes. Good chat, good show. I will see you guys next Thursday. No. Yes. No. What day is next Thursday? Is it Christmas? Oh, crap. I forgot what day of the week Christmas is on. I think Christmas is Wednesday. Yes. We will see you here next Thursday at 11 a.m. All right. Peace out and Merry Krampus to everybody. See ya.